This book is very teacher centric. Both of the main characters are teachers. And that was really, really important to me. I really wanted to make the focus on a fun, cute, kind of fluffy, cozy mystery with some romance, but also reflecting teachers and their experience. It's the book that I wish I would have had whenever I was a burnt out, exhausted teacher. And my male main character, he is fresh, a baby teacher, and she is his mentor. So she's a little bit more jaded. And he brings out the joy in her for her to remember why she loved teaching. And then she kind of calms his crazy ideas down. I'm hoping that it will really hit home with other teachers because there aren't a lot of teacher books that are focused in the school year and or written by former teachers. If you were never a teacher, then it's just a fun little cozy mystery that takes place in a high school. But if you were, then hopefully you'll get that added layer too.
Welcome to Raising Baby Authors. I'm Cassia, your host, and a brand new writer. If you feel overwhelmed and lost about this whole writing thing, you're certainly not alone. Join me while I pester my author guests for writing advice and find out how they do it. Because if they could, then why not you? It truly takes a village to raise an author, so let me share my village with you. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the Raising Baby Authors podcast. I am really happy to hear. I am really happy to have you with me for the second season, and I am so excited to introduce you to my new guest. This is author Kristen Bahls. She is a fellow reader, a podcaster, and now also an author. I am so excited to know how her journey went, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great to chat over Instagram, so it's nice to actually kind of talk in person now.
I was really excited when you said yes because I've been listening to your podcast for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Let's name the podcast so that
Oh
everybody
yeah.
knows where to go and what to listen.
Yes, it is called Where I Left Off, and it's really just a bookish podcast completely. I mainly talk to other authors as well a little bit about their writing process and then have book reviews and just kind of talk about books that I like.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. It was really laid back. It was really nice to just listen what you think about different books. And then when you started interviewing authors, I was like, wow, okay, this is definitely something that I want to be listening to. So, all right. Well, I'm here to talk to you about your author experience and the podcasting experience. So I guess let's start. Let's start just with your journey. So how did you go into the bookish community in general?
Well, actually, I mean, it kind of really started from birth as far as books because my mom was a librarian. And so, in kindergarten, I remember going into her library after school and getting my pick of all the good books. So I've kind of been a reader my whole life. And actually, I used to have a teaching podcast back when I was a teacher. And
All right.
so I kind of got used to the podcasting space through that. And whenever I left education, I was like, I still want to do the podcast thing, but I don't know kind of what subject matter I wanted to do. And so as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I love books, so I might as well take a stab at it. So I kind of did that. And that's when I just decided to switch everything over to books. And it kind of all went from there. After that, I was on Instagram one day and I found Sarah Adams, and she's one of my favorite authors. I love all of her books. And she had this post that was like, if you want to write a book, you should just do it. And here are the resources that I use to help me, figure out how to take my idea and work it into a complete story. And I literally took inspiration from one Instagram post from her and I started reading up on the books that she was reading. And it all kind of went from there. And I knew that I had this idea and I said, why not just put it into a book, see what happens. I may never finish it. It may not work out, but why not try it? And then kind of as I got going, it just started from there. And it really helped that a lot of the authors that I met through the podcast encouraged me to keep going and helped me. And I don't think I would have ever decided to publish the book and really finish it if I didn't have their support. So it was kind of all just a little bit of luck and timing.
Yeah, I would say that it's very often that it takes just like one little thing just to give you like a little bit of an idea, and then it all kind of starts snowballing from
Mhm.
there. Yeah, that's how I started the podcast basically. Just I don't even remember how. It's just like one day I was like, well, I want to do a podcast. Like I don't know.
Why
I think
not?
I can do it. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Mhm.
And being in the bookish community, you constantly get ideas from people. You
Yes.
constantly kind of, oh, you want to participate in this? Oh, let's make a post together. Oh, let's do this.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, it's a lot of support that we get, and we're really lucky.
Agree. And book people are just the nicest people, like whether you're standing in line at an author event and making friends or just finding authors on Instagram that sometimes you'll just DM them once and say, "Hey, I love your work." And then you end up best friends and you're in a group chat and there's your support group.
Yeah, that's completely true. So this is how you got your first podcast guest, an author. How did that happen?
With Allie Samberts was actually my first guest, and I love her books, oh my gosh, and I had read them, I really liked them, and I just saw that she had posted something on Instagram that was like, "I need help with social media, I'm really overwhelmed, so if anyone would like to create, like, a couple posts for me, that I would appreciate it," and so I sent her a message that kinda gave me, like, the opening because I was afraid to just, go into an author's, like, DMs and ask them
Hmm.
to interview. And so I said, I'll create some posts for you if you'll be on my podcast. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. So then I had her on. And honestly, kind of once I had her on, then it got easier for me to ask other authors. And then eventually authors started asking me and publishers started asking me. So now I don't have to generally find guests, they tend to find me. So it kind of just snowballed of once I had one author on, I thought, oh, this might be just a one-time thing, but I don't know. Everyone kind of heard from their friends actually is what happened. And then they would pass me on and be like, hey, I had a good experience. Here's someone else. And then it just kind of kept the train going.
Yeah, that's what I noticed as well. Like many authors that I've been talking to, they were just like, "Listen, I have this like author group. I have many friends. Do you want me
Mhm.
to like direct them your way? It's gonna
Yes,
be great."
please.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Always, always. And actually, I did message Alice Amberts and she did say yes, but she didn't schedule it yet. So I might
Mhm.
end up editing it out if eventually it doesn't work out. But yeah, I'm also super excited to talk to her. I haven't read any of her books yet, so I will
Oh,
prepare
yes.
for the episode by reading. I think I have maybe two or three of them.
I was going to say The Right Choice is my favorite, but they're all really,
So
really
the third
good.
one, yeah,
That one's actually wait, I just said The
the
Right
right
Choice. The
place,
Right
the right
Place.
time, the
You're
right
right. The
choice.
Right Place. Book one. The Right Place is my favorite. You're
Ah,
right. The Right
okay.
Choice is book three. Yeah.
Okay, actually, I thought the right choice would be my favorite because I really
Mhm.
love the marriage in trouble thing. But yeah, I will start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I have an itch if I don't start the series from the beginning.
Well, especially with that one, there are a lot of kind of little things at play that if you started on book three in the series, I don't think it would make as big of an impact as it will on that one if you read it sequentially.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. Thanks. Well, from here, let's then talk about your writing experience
Mhm.
and about your book. So, first of all, yes, tell us about your book. As far as I know, you mostly talk about, not mostly, but I mostly listen to your romance episodes, but your book is not actually a romance. So, how did you choose your genre?
Yeah, it is not actually a romance. I didn't feel like I had the chops to start out with romance, to be completely honest.
It is
Once yeah,
scary.
it's really hard, and once I started kind of plotting it and planning it, I realized that this wasn't necessarily a true full romance story, and there were gonna be other things at play, and especially when it's only a romance novel, of course, the characters and their interaction and their growth and their relationship is going to be top of mind, and I honestly didn't feel like I had the chops yet to write that, so what I did was I was kind of thinking and looking, and I realized I really love cozy mysteries, and the cozy mystery genre is its own complete niche, and I've been reading those for a really long time, and I kinda noticed this crop up of almost like these hybrid rom-com mysteries where you took the traditional kind of like cozy mystery structure and you added a little bit more romance than what would typically kind of be in the genre, and so that's when I kind of started looking at that as I was plotting it out, I realized that that's what the story was telling me. And I just wanted something else in addition to the romance for me to kind of get the hang of it and then eventually write a romance novel. So this is actually book one of a 3-book series, and it is a cozy mystery, but with romance. I would say that it is a cozy mystery. It totally fits cozy mystery genre specifications and conventions, but it has a lot of romance. So it almost kind of plays like a rom-com mystery kind of novel, and it's called A Flair for Trouble, and it's about two high school teachers who become amateur sleuths when a parent is murdered in an after school event. And of course, they fall in love along the way.
All right. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, you were trying to define the genre, and I was thinking, I
Mhm.
mean, there is romantic suspense that exists, but
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's kind of tonally different from what you're talking
Hmm.
about.
It is. So a cozy mystery is almost, it's not as intense as a mystery. There's not going to be really
Hmm.
intense anything. So there's not going to be intense murder. There's not going to be language, and there's not generally going to be smut. So it's just kind of a mystery, almost more like the show Psych or Only Murders in the Building or Castle, where murder is in there, but the humor between the characters, the relationships, the slow burn romance over the course of the series is kind of the most important thing. And basically, you
Hmm.
could read it before bed without getting freaked out because there's not going to be anything like graphic or jarring in there.
Okay, I see now. I've never read a cozy mystery before, but I have watched Only Murders in the Building, and I think I understand what you mean by that. Like, it
Hmm.
wasn't really only at the end when there was like a dramatic reveal or something, then you could
Hmm.
even see blood and stuff like that. Otherwise, it was quite,
Exactly.
yeah, it was quite fun. You're my
Yeah.
first cozy mystery author, so
Oh, wow.
I might have questions just because,
Hmm.
I mean, we always end up talking about details and about like word choices
Yes.
and stuff. And you did mention that like it is a mystery, there is murder, but the
Hmm.
language has to be different. Like, did you have to like specifically choose your words super carefully that they would match the vibe that you're trying to create? Is it hard?
Yes and no. Luckily, because most of mine takes place in a high school, there isn't a
Hmm.
lot of language anyway, so that kind of helped with the setting. But I did have to go back and kind of filter my word choice a little bit because ultimately, the thing with cozy mystery is that it has to be cozy. It's maybe a little bit more atmospheric or, focused on the relationships. And so, yeah, I did kind of have to go back and edit it a little bit with that in mind.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that would already be hard for me, but I can't even imagine writing a mystery, to be honest. I think I
It's
romance is
it's
hard on
yeah.
its own, very
Mhm.
hard. But for me, for example, to plot out a mystery with, I don't know, like red herrings and
Yep.
plot twists and stuff, it's just not in me to do that. So, how did you get the idea and how did you plot it out? I see you're a plotter, probably.
Oh, yes. I am a huge plotter. I
I don't
I
know how you
can't
can
I
write a
can't
mystery
pants it.
without.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could not. I'm sure someone could, but
Well, I mean,
definitely not me.
I recently listened to Stephen King's on writing, and
Mhm.
well, he does not believe in plotting whatsoever, but
Mhm.
I think he's the only person who
I
can
was gonna
do
say
that.
he's just a special genius. I am nowhere near
Yeah.
him. Really what I did with the whole mystery aspect was, so I obviously knew that someone was going to die, so first I had to figure out who the victim is. And then after that, I would say that the hardest part, and I listened to a lot of mysteries and a lot of cozy mysteries to try to pick up on this, and I feel like this is something I'm still getting better at over time, so I'm thinking that book 2 and book 3 are gonna even be a little bit better on the mystery aspect. But basically, what I tried to do from my true crime podcast knowledge was take the initial crime, kind of break it apart and say, okay, like what are the aspects? Like in this case, it's actually a poisoning because that's another thing in cozy mystery. Like you can have a stabbing or a gunshot, but it cannot take place on page. It's
Hmm.
like they found the body later. So you're not getting like a graphic anything. So they may
Right.
find the body later, but typically it's something like, oh no, a poisoning, he's dead, like something that you don't really see. And so I started with the poisoning. So then I looked back at like, okay, what kind of poison is this? What is it found in? How long does it take to, go through someone's system, stuff like that. And then I kind of made each thing a clue from there. And honestly, on this first book, I had I had my big plot points because there's kind of a trying to think of how to say it without spoiling it. There's like a crime within a crime here. So I had to
Okay.
figure out how they're going to try to solve this one crime and kind of come across something else in their research. And so I really just broke it down of like, okay, so this is the thing that happened. Here's maybe a clue that would lead you there. Is it, the height of the victim? Is it the poison that was used? Is this how this thing happened? Is it the day that it happened? Is there something specific about the person that they're researching? And also, they are amateurs, so they are really bad at this. So they make mistakes on purpose and they are not that great because they are learning as they go. So they get really dead set on something that is completely wrong. And then they have to figure out by themselves kind of how to course correct. And so that kind of helped. Also, I made my detective one of the other teachers, and he was a former police officer who is filling in to help them solve the case because he was already a law enforcement teacher. So they do kind of have that proximity to the detective that also kind of helps them figure
Hmm.
stuff out and try to gain clues from him as they're like talking to him in the hallway and stuff in between classes. So it's a lot of plotting and trying to just pull little threads and see how I think it'll work. And the beta readers didn't have any problems with it. So I'm assuming that that means that it's good.
No plot holes found.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Shockingly, no. I made it pretty simple for this first one. I was trying to make it kind of a dummy proof mystery. And then, of course, as I go along, it'll probably get a little bit more complex for sure.
Yeah, so you're planning it as a 3 book series, which means there's
Yes.
probably like an overarching
Hmm.
something going on.
Yes, yes. And book one takes place during the first semester. So basically, kind of like August to December of that
Hmm.
school year. And then book two is actually Christmas break. And then book three is spring semester.
Okay, so there's going to be a Christmas book in there, the second one,
Mhm.
and then
Yep,
yeah, I
yep.
have the same line of thinking. Also, like I
Yay.
have this little very loosely connected series, and
Yeah.
I'm like the second one's going to be Christmas.
It's so much fun. Why not? You need a Christmas book in there somewhere.
You need one, and people are way more likely to give a chance to a new author. Me, for example, for sure, I would like, oh, cute little Christmas book. I'm gonna just pick this up. Like, I don't know this author, but it looks nice. But for
Exactly.
any other book, it takes me a bit longer to like actually pick it up. So yeah,
I agree.
okay, that sounds amazing. Did you use any like specific plot device? No, that's not the word. Like a plotting. My God, plotting method in your plotting process. I don't know where all my English went.
Okay, so whenever I was plotting it, I started out with Save the Cat.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this spreadsheet online. It's from Lauren Kay, which I would not recommend any of her actual writing advice, but she has a free template that is this spreadsheet where basically you put in how many pages you want your book to be, and it will calculate how like from what page range everything should be. And so it'll
Mm-hmm.
say like, okay, the finale is page 299 to 300. So then as you're writing, you can kind of keep track and keep pace. So I think that that really really helped me not only to have the save the cat structure, but to be able to put it in that spreadsheet. So as I was writing, I was like, okay, these are the bullet points of what needs to happen, these are the pages that it needs to happen on. And then it kind of gave me the creativity to kind of figure it out in between and how they get from bullet point one to bullet point two, kind of as I was writing. Because I really like a plan. Like, I like a really solid plan, especially with the romance and the mystery. I would go, okay, here are the romance things that need to happen in this chapter. here are the mystery things that need to happen in this chapter. And then I need to throw in some teaching stuff as well. So that helped me kind of balance all of those. And I will say that my friend warned me that it being calculated per page was going to mess me up. And it did mess me up. And so now going on book two, I'm doing it by word count, which is so much better.
Mhm.
And I Googled like save the cat percentages and I found this article. Hold on, let me see if I can find what her name is so I can give her credit. Here we go. It's Savannah Gilbo, and it's
Oh yeah.
her blog, and it broke it down into here is how you calculate it. So now my spreadsheet is so much better, and now I've purchased Scrivener, and so I'm putting everything in there, and it's going to be a lot smoother and a lot better process. But at first I didn't know, and so I thought, hey, a spreadsheet with pages is great. And now I know a spreadsheet with word counts is better and having a whole plotting board. But yeah, I have to plot everything out pretty specifically, especially now that I'm writing book two and I just started plotting that. And there are a lot of characters, that are already established. And so I have to continue their storyline. And I have a spreadsheet of like all the little details of what color eyes they have and what subject they teach and all that kind of stuff that you forget when you actually get writing. So, yeah, to be able to keep up with all that, I need like a real plan.
Yeah, well, that sounds really nice, actually. Yeah, page count is, I don't know, it's very different depending on where you have
Mm-hmm.
it. So you
Yeah,
don't
and all the
really know how many
formatting.
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know how many pages you're gonna have eventually. But yeah, word count is good. And
Mhm.
Savannah Gilbo is like my hero. I've listened to her whole podcast. I have like different her different freebies like
Mhm.
spread out in this room
Oh,
everywhere.
nice.
Just like I was working on answering different questions that she has,
Mhm.
and like just working through the book
Yeah.
try with her help is really really nice.
Mhm.
Okay, so then you had your plan. It's like, oh, in your head the book's already almost written. So how did the first draft go after that?
Yeah, that first draft was interesting. I had no idea what I was doing. I had only read like a couple craft books and I was just kind of going into it blind, so it was definitely a learning experience. I will say that when I finished the plot documents before I started writing, there is an author. Her name is Alexa Martin, and you can actually schedule time with her and then you pay a fee and she will look over your plotting sheet for you. And she is a Berkeley romance author. And I asked her if she was okay with like a cozy mystery with some romance because I kind of felt like I was lacking on the romance and I wanted to make sure that I felt like I kind of had the mystery a little bit, but I wasn't sure that it had enough romance. So I booked time with her and she was amazing. She looked over my entire plotting sheet and she gave me a lot of direction. And she actually gave me some really good ideas of just kind of ways that I can incorporate romance, how it could make a little bit more sense, and kind of putting it into my story. And so we had a really in depth conversation of what that would look like. So I had already kind of had some peer review on my plot document. So I really think that that helped a lot just to have someone else kind of looking at it, making sure that it made sense. So then, whenever I actually got into writing it, I still really didn't know what I was doing, but at least I felt a little bit more confident about the
Yeah.
romance aspect. And it took me a really long time at first to write because I would just write things out of order. I did not necessarily write it sequentially. If there was a scene that I wanted to write that day, that I would just start writing that scene and just kind of going with it. And it was dual POV. So it was also kind of trying to get the hang of the male main character and the female main character because Ellen Cohen are very different personalities. And so trying to write from the male perspective was really difficult for me also at first. So I was just doing what I could. And then what really helped me was having critique partners again through my podcast. It did help that I already knew a couple of authors that were really nice and had already kind of encouraged me, so I did send them a couple chapters, and hearing their feedback early on made me feel a little bit more confident so I could course correct if there was something that wasn't making sense and wasn't flowing. So that also kind of helped as I started working through the first draft. So it was pretty much just every morning I would wake up, I write before work, and so I would try to get as many words on the page as I could, and I felt like I kind of stumbled through the first half and I would just constantly get other authors to look at it and give me feedback. And then I would just kind of change little sections as I was going and really kind of referring to my plot documents along the way. And I think it was about halfway through the first book that I really kind of caught my stride and it all started making a little bit more sense. And my characters were starting to speak to me and everything was kind of starting to come together. And from then I got a lot faster. I got a lot better and I started getting the hang of it. And it was funny because one of my critique partners was like, I can literally tell exactly where you started to get the hang of it. And now it's flowing a lot better. So, of course, once I had the first draft, a lot of my corrections were for the first half instead of the second. And a lot of the beta reader feedback was coming for the first half instead of the second.
Hmm.
So, after having kind of struggled my way through it, I feel like now I have a better grasp on what I need to do in book 2. I think I can write a cleaner draft going forward, and the amount of growth just from talking to other authors, figuring it out, getting constant feedback, reading a lot in romance and cozy mystery in general and thriller, I think helped me because I started paying attention to kind of what other authors are doing. Like if a plot twist took me by surprise, I'm like, what about that plot twist took me by surprise? How did they
Hmm.
kind of pepper it in throughout? And so all of those things kind of helped me get the hang of it. So now I feel a lot better, but that first draft was really, really rough.
Yeah, well, I see that. Yeah, it's a really good thing that you started getting feedback right away from people that you trust because
Mhm.
yeah, you can it's a lot of words. Like how much do you usually like aim for? Like 80,000 words, I don't know, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depends on what you want to write. And it's a lot of words to be on your own basically. It's somewhere you can just start thinking that okay, this is all trash and
Mhm.
without having another person to at least encourage you, it's really hard to dig yourself out of like, okay, I'm burning this. It's not good.
Exactly, because you're
Yeah,
like
because
just in a vacuum, just trying to figure it all out yourself, and it feels just overwhelming, and you have no idea if you're doing anything right. So yeah, having other authors, especially that I loved their work and I trusted their opinion, really,
yeah,
really helped.
a lot of people feel embarrassed or just shy giving their new very brand new words to an author that's already established and that their writing is good and yours probably not saying yours, I'm saying like anybody's like who's a newbie is probably definitely not as good. I mean, did you have like lots of doubts? How did you overcome them?
Well, I think that as far as sending it to other authors, it helped that I knew them really well. I had them on my podcast, but then I had been constantly DMing them like every day or every other day. So we had a very established connection. And I think it's also very important to pay attention to the feedback style of everyone. Like I kind of knew from their personalities how they were going to give me feedback. So, some people are very flowery and they'll say, like, I loved this and this was fantastic and this was great. And now here's what you need to fix. And some people are very matter of fact and are like, fix this, fix this, fix this. This isn't working. I don't understand this. I don't get why this is happening. So, kind of knowing how they're going to give you feedback is really important. Typically based on their personality, really helped me. And so, even though I was very nervous, I sent them a couple pages at a time at first. But then I realized that I know them and they gave it back to me just as they would really talk to me like over a DM or over a voice memo. And so it was a little bit less scary because I was prepared for kind of their style. And a lot of the feedback, I think the other thing is if you're really nervous about it, pay attention to what kind of feedback they're giving you. Because, of course, your first thought is like, it's trash. I don't want to send it to them. They're so good. I'm a newbie. It's not even grammatically correct. Who knows how many spelling errors are in this or whatever. But half the time, the feedback that they're giving, it's not on specific like words or phrases like, this is cringy, this is bad. It's on overall big plot things that maybe you didn't even think about because you're so zoomed in to your project and they can kind of zoom out and look at it as a whole. And so then they'll give you things like, I want to know more about the character motivations for this, or, where are you taking this, or how is this going to look like this? And so it was a little bit more like zoomed out feedback that also kind of helped me. It wasn't just nitpicky. They gave me kind of big picture things that helped me think of honestly, it helped me think of things that I hadn't really thought about, like exploring, more of the relationship and how that would look like. And maybe it wasn't looking right at first, but how I would kind of get it there. So I do think that they were exceptional in giving their feedback, which helped. But 9 times out of 10, even with the beta readers, I had way too many beta readers. I got way too much feedback. And I was really dumb and I turned on my Google notifications so I would get a notification every time they made a comment. And I was freaking myself out because I was looking at all the notifications going, they hate it. It's so bad. And then I actually read their feedback and it was just like them commenting while they're reading, basically. Kind of more
Yeah.
just like a stream of consciousness. But, I equated like one comment means that I did something wrong. And that's not the case. Half the time they're just pointing something out, telling you something they liked or didn't, or giving you an idea for the future. It doesn't mean that, you suck just because you got 5 comments back,
Oh,
which is
definitely
hard.
not. Yeah, I can definitely get it. I didn't have beta readers for the current thing that I'm writing because to me it's too small and it's my story. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna publish it as it is. It's not a big book. It's just like a
Hmm.
passion project. But I am a beta reader for an author friend of mine, and yeah, I mean, if I only wrote critical things, that would just like I mean, I am in your terms, I would be the more straightforward person because I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I don't understand this. This was already said before. Why do we repeat it? But yeah, I will say all those things, but I will also be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this phrase or something. So yeah, I don't want to only say negative thing, not negative, but like critical things.
Hmm.
I also want to express when I really, really like something. So then yeah, you'll get a lot of notifications. I told my friend, do not look at my comments until I finish with your book, or at least I finish with the half of it or something, because I
Hmm.
also leave myself notes sometimes and then I come back and erase them or fix them or something.
Yeah.
It's not only for you, like it's also for me.
I noticed that
Okay.
too, in some of the beta comments, they would say things like, "Where is that?" or "What is that?" or "How is that going to look?" And I'm thinking like, it's answered in a page. Just give it a second.
Yeah.
You just scroll down a page and you got it. And so, yeah, you can look at all that and think it's awful. It's not. It's not. And it's fine if it's straightforward because that helps too. I do like a range. So I have some beta readers that I specifically know are going to be a little bit more like you and are going to be a little bit more straightforward. And if something's not making sense, they are definitely going to point it out to me. And then I have some that are a little bit more flowery and are just like, I love everything. And so I like having a balance of those. So then, you're still
Mhm.
getting feedback. And like you said, as long as you're saying, like, I liked this part, then that's great. Cause you're always going to be more sensitive about your work because it came from your brain and you're already nervous about it. So it's really hard opening something like that up to criticism.
Yeah, of course, of course. So when you say beta readers
Mhm.
and critic partners, those are different groups of people who read
Yep.
your full. So how did you find
Yes.
your beta readers then?
I did have one of my beta readers that was also my critique partner. So that way she knew my story a little bit better and she was an author. So, of course, I take her feedback in the highest esteem because she's done this before. My other beta readers are actually half were friends that I met on Instagram that had started beta reading for other authors. And again, I knew them pretty well. So I kind of knew their feedback style. So I asked one specifically, and she was awesome. She gave me a lot of different comments on things that I just never would have thought about, or like repetitions I never would have found. So some of them were really big readers or authors that I found on Instagram that I asked. Also, I tried to get some that were former teachers and some that were not former teachers. So that way I could make sure that all the school stuff made sense, but it wasn't too much. And then I actually got some that were kind of a variety of genres. Like some read a lot of fantasy, some read a lot of romance, and I actually had a couple that didn't read a lot at all. So it was a combination of an author, couple bookstagrammers, some friends, and then I actually had a couple former students read it. as well. So it was really like a combination of people in education, people not in education, different age ranges, and then just kind of different backgrounds. So I could kind of get how is it going to play out for someone who doesn't read the genre, and how is it going to play out for someone who does tend to read like mysteries, cozy mysteries, and romance. So way too
Okay.
many beta readers, but now that I know their style, I know who I'm going to pick up for the next one. So
Okay.
that helps a lot too.
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to ask. That sounds like a lot of people
It
to
was
look
like
at your book.
7 people. That was way too many. I should never have done that. It's 3 max is going to be what I do going forward, but it was like 7.
Did you end up rewriting a lot because of the beta reader feedback?
Yeah, I did fix a lot. I did
Hmm.
fix a lot, but of course, it was yeah, I ended up redoing scenes. There were scenes that I already didn't love that I wasn't sure about, but I didn't want to cut them necessarily because I wasn't sure if it was just me not liking them
Hmm.
or if they weren't translating. And they weren't translating on a
Okay.
couple of them. So I was at least able to kind of fix it. But based on the beta reader comments, they had some really interesting ideas. Like one, so the story originally started in the female main character, Elle, her perspective. And one of the beta readers was like, you know what? I think that you should actually start it in Cohen's perspective and start the book out that way. And at first I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, that's actually a really good idea. I was like, I'll just write it and see what happens. And so then I would rewrite the scene kind of based on what they said. And 9 times out of 10, it flowed way better. So yeah, it was kind of substantial rewrites after that, but I didn't know what I was doing on the first draft. So I think
Of
that was a
course.
lot of it. And so now I know, I just feel like I have a lot better sense of what needs to be in there now. So I appreciate them looking at a very, very rough draft and then kind of helping me figure out where to rewrite.
Okay. So how do you remember how much time it took from like starting to write the first draft until you had something that you considered is ready for like the next stages?
It took about a year
Okay.
to get there. Yeah. And again, I was really slow in the beginning. I was barely able to sit down and put that many words together. And what was together was just like a bunch of random scenes and nothing was really connected. So, kind of as I got the hang of it, I got a lot faster. So, yeah, it took me about a year to write it
Hmm.
and then get it ready for kind of beta readers.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think my first draft took me like a year, and then I abandoned that because I'm planning to publish that one later, so I
Hmm.
started another one. And so I'm assuming that the other one will also take me like a year to write. So to me that's just my speed, which is fine. But
True.
yeah, I know people who write a rough draft in 6 weeks or so,
They're
but I
amazing.
guess you'll get there
Yeah.
eventually if you
Yeah.
really like get a hang of it. You'll get there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then what were the next steps after the beta readers and after you did all the changes? So at which point did you decide, okay, I want to publish this and I need to do the next steps?
So as I was writing the first draft, I was really adhering to that save the cat because I was convinced that I was going to go trad pub and I was going to query it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to do. There was just no room for argument there. That was my plan. And then as I started talking about the fact that I was writing it, I just had some people say that they were interested in reading it. I'm like, oh, well, that's good, but they're going to have to wait a while because it's going to have to go through the query trenches. And who knows that I may never get an agent and I may have to, put this project to the side and nothing is set in stone in publishing at all. So I knew that it was going to be a really long process. So that kind of started whenever people were asking for it. And then I interviewed an author, and her name is Dr. Melissa Diamond, and she is fantastic. And she was saying, why don't you self publish? And I was like, I don't want to do all this myself. I just want to query it. And she was like, well, you have, me and all your other author friends that can kind of help you along the way. Like, why don't you consider self publishing? And I thought, okay, I'll take a look at it. And so I realized that this cozy mystery series was something that I wanted to self-publish because I felt like it was a good way for me to really get the hang of the author thing, get it out in front of an audience that already wanted it, and see the process completely from start to finish. And honestly, I mean, even in TradPub, by the time you go through all the edits and you have to market your own book and you do a lot of the work, I was kind of like, well, I mean, self publishing is a lot more work on the back end. So it's not as if, it's not, but I figured either way, I wrote this book. I'm doing all the work anyway. Maybe I should try to self publish it and kind of see how it goes. So she kind of planted the seed. And then as I started asking other author friends, like, okay, what would it take for me to do this? And kind of started getting my checklist together of all the things that need to happen on the back end, I made the decision to self publish this series and kind of see how it goes. And so that changed a lot of the trajectory of it. And so then I hired my editor. So basically, I wrote the first draft having had my critique partners look at it so it wasn't, it had eyes on it and it had a little bit of peer review. Then I went back through, kind of fixed it a little bit, but I sent my beta readers a pretty rough draft, which I also would not do again. I would probably do like a couple more check throughs and give myself more time, but I was on a somewhat tight deadline. So I was like, okay, I need to get this done. I need to get it sent to betas. So I got it sent to beta readers, and I think it took about a month to implement all their feedback because there were a lot of rewrites and like sifting through stuff. And then I sent it to my editor, and she did a developmental pass on it, and she had comments for it. And then I just got it back. I just fixed all the developmental things, and I just sent it off again for a line and copy edit. And then at the end of June, she'll send me back the line and copy. I'll make all of those fixes. I'll format it, so it looks like a book in Atticus. And then I will send it to my proofreader, and she's going to do one final check because I didn't want my eyes to be the last one on the book because I have read it through so many times and
Mhm.
fixed so many things. Oh, because before I sent it, once I fixed all the developmental things for my editor, I read it back through an additional time and I caught a bunch of stuff just like reading it completely straight through as if it were a book. So then I sent it back to her so she has it right now. But yeah, it's going to go through several edits, and I made sure that my proofreader was not the same as my editor just to get yet another set of eyes on it to make sure that it is somewhat smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I kind of am going through right now,
Mhm.
except that I didn't use any beta readers and I went straight to like a line and copy edit. But yeah, I agree with you completely on the point that you want to publish it and you want it to be an experience for you.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not gonna be like, oh, I'll publish whatever. Let us just be there. You'll do everything you can, you do your best to make this book the best that it can be, but still like I don't know exactly what is the reason for you, but for me, like I'm impatient. I'm really impatient.
Mhm.
I'm not old, but I'm not like in my 20s. And
Mhm.
I feel already that I'm a bit behind and I'm like, I want it to be out. I want to know that I'm a published author and there is something and then I can
Mhm.
continue working on other things and whatever. I am
Exactly.
also planning at some point to query something. Just don't
Mhm.
know what it is gonna be yet. But yeah, do you still think you're gonna query your next series or something?
Yes. So basically this 3-book cozy mystery series totally gonna self-publish. It's also gonna have a novella, so technically three and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And that novella is actually with a group of author friends. We're all going to be publishing like novellas in a series. So
Amazing.
it'll kind of work out that way. But after that, I am kind of slowly starting to plot it and work on it. One of my friends, her name's Sarah Blair, and she said that she likes working on 2 books at once, which at first sounded kind of crazy to me, but she was like, "You don't have to be at the same point in each book. You can kind of be like plotting one book a little bit while you're writing another book, and then if you take a break from one, then you kind of work on another, so that
Mm-hmm.
way they don't get completely jumbled." And so I'm starting to plot what will be after the cozy mystery series, which will be a romance novel that I do plan to query because I don't yeah, I think I need help with just kind of the marketing and getting it out there in the romance sphere. So that's why I definitely want to query and kind of trad pub a romance. But for cozy mystery, I felt like that genre I was going to try with self-publishing. So it was almost kind of genre specific a little bit. And um, Ali Sandberg's gave me a really good book. It's called Romancing the Beat. You've probably heard of
Hmm.
it, but yeah, it had a really good story structure to kind of take that Save the Cat and make it romance. So I
Yeah.
can kind of like slowly get the hang of the romance novel because I feel like it's going to take me twice as long to write something that is completely romance because readers just have such specific just needs and wants, and it has to go past the trope and have enough depth, and then it has to, the characters have to be believable, but they have to show growth, but they can't be annoying, and there's just so many things that I feel like it's going to take me so long to write the romance novel that, yeah, I'm kind of like slowly starting it while I finish the other series, and I do plan to query it right now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I can completely understand the just the responsibility that is on a romance author. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Like it seems like it's so easy to write, but really not at all. It's very
Yep.
hard. But you mentioned something about marketing in the
Mhm.
romance space. Why do you think that being particularly in the traditional publishing space will help you with that part of the process?
Um, as of right now, I think that having kind of the marketing of a traditional publisher would help me.
Mhm.
Just because with like their newsletters, getting it out on NetGalley, again, you could work around this. There's the NetGalley co-op that you could use if you're a self-published romance author. And I mean, every market is oversaturated no matter what, but I just kind of feel like I need that extra boost from a traditional publisher on romance because I mean, my romance shelf behind me, like there are just so many options, and I feel like a publisher would help me. But again, you never know what marketing budget they're going to give you. Then you don't have control of things that you might before. So maybe you know what your cover should look like, but then they pick a cover that you don't like that you don't think is going to sell well, or maybe, they don't help you get the shelf space that you think. So it's kind of all a gamble, but I feel like I just get overwhelmed whenever I think about romance. And so that's kind of why I'm planning to look towards a traditional publisher, but maybe once I get a couple books under my belt, and I mean, everything just seems like it's changing so fast. And I feel like
Yeah.
the more traditionally published authors I talk to, they keep kind of saying, well, maybe I would have gone self published had I started this a couple years later. So honestly, by the time I get to the point of having it done, the market may be completely different and it may not make sense to be trad pub for romance right now. But I think that ultimately I just kind of need the help for all the different options and shelf space and kind of competition that there is. Just trying to get your book noticed in romance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're totally right that there is just so many and it's really hard. Like there are, I don't know, I feel like I know all the big romance
Hmm.
authors or bigger romance authors in the area now, and then I hear about someone who's been doing it forever and I've never heard of them and never heard of
Yep.
their books, but they're amazing and it's like
Hmm.
there's really and if you're just starting out, it's really crazy. Like I have some of the authors with maybe two, three books only,
Hmm.
and like they're not selling too much in my Instagram
Yeah.
followers and in my friends. And I don't even know how I found them. It feels like it's just some sort of luck or something. Like you just
Hmm.
stumble upon a person because there's literally thousands of people who are just like that. And I somehow just connected with this specific person. So it's really, I think it's really hard to get discovered. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem hard to break through because it's popularity does not equate to quality at all. I've read amazing indie authors that are not very big that their books are just as good as any of the traditionally published authors, and they're all really good. It's just so hard to find things. So yeah, that's what I would hope that a publisher would help with. But again, you never know what kind of marketing budget you have. It may backfire. I don't know, but I kind of feel like I would like to try it at least once and just see what that traditional publishing experience is like if I were able to get an agent, but I may not be able to get an agent. I don't know. I haven't queried yet. It's a whole process in itself, of course.
Yeah, yeah, I understand completely. Since we've been talking about like
Yeah.
marketing budget and getting discovered, so what are your plans for the cozy mystery then? As far as I understand, it didn't come out yet, right? Like I looked at
No,
your
nope,
profile, I don't see it.
no. It is out. It's going to be out August 7th. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to get everything figured out. I have a full-time job. So that does not help me as
Yep.
far as being able to get things out quickly. So I've kind of just taken some of the pressure off myself. And originally, I wanted to have pre-orders. I wanted to have arcs. I wanted to have the whole kind of shebang, and possibly even like a street team and all that stuff. I'm having almost none of that. Book one, I'm trying to just get it out and then kind of figure everything out from there. Cause I feel like sometimes there's almost the misconception of the pressure that, like, before your release, you need to be posting a lot on social media. You have to have pre orders. You have to have it, up and have arcs out and all this stuff. And it puts a lot of pressure for you because, of course, you want to take the time to go through all the edits and make the book the way you want. And that's going to be the thing that's going to last the longest, not the pre-orders and the arcs that no one's going to remember once the book is actually published. So I've kind of given myself a little bit of grace on that. And I'll see if I'm able to get pre-orders and arcs out. But on my editing timeline right now, it's going to be pretty close because it is coming out August 7th. And so most of my marketing, surprisingly, I didn't expect this, but it kind of turned out that it's going to be a lot of in-person events, based on kind of my area. And I will say I'm in Texas, and specifically I'm kind of like in the Dallas area, and that is a huge in-person reader space. Huge.
Oh,
There's
okay.
so many bookstores, both indie and the Barnes and Nobles around here are very, very supportive of local authors. So there are constant signings, there's constant in-store shelf space. Libraries have been great around here. So there are just so many options for more in-person marketing that's kind of why on this first book, I mean, I'm trying everything out and I'll see, kind of what works out, and I will not give myself such a tight deadline on book 2 now that I know, so I can get the pre-orders and the arcs and all that more like digital online stuff up. But basically, for my marketing, so my book comes out August 7th. My local library is doing an author fest August 16th. So I'm doing my first in-person author event with my table like right after my release happens. My friend actually works at that library, and she's the one that talked to the library director and told them about my book because I thought it was too close and I wasn't originally planning to do it. And so she talked about my book to him. He wanted me to join Authorfest, so he talked to me and we chatted on the phone. And he's even going to put me in the romance section, so that way I'm not going to be in like next to the horror table and then not sell any books. And so, just kind of having those connections and talking to him and him agreeing to put me on the romance table is really going to help me anyway, kind of in that section and all the connections there. And then, of course, they have you donate a copy of the book. And then my friends that are in my book club are like, we're picking your book for the book club pick. And we're going to request it at all of our local libraries so they'll get it in. So having kind of a friend group and some connections in person are really going to help me start to kind of get it, moving. And then one of my friends that owns a romance bookstore, her name is Stacy Hicks. She owns Romance Landia, and she, we talked about it and I applied and I got into Ink and Indie in October. So I'm going to Maryland in October for that big author event. And so
Hmm.
that's going to be a Maryland event where there are a bunch of like people walking through. And so it's going to be a lot more like in person tables. And then in my area, like I said, we have a lot of local bookstores that do author signings. There's one local bookstore that said they can't keep the indie author section stocked because they're just selling so much on those shelves. So there's that. And then there's also this thing called the Grown Up Book Fair in my town. And again, the person that started the Grown Up Book Fair, I've had her on my podcast and I've gone to a bunch of the book fairs and I chat with her all the time. So the chances of hopefully me getting accepted to that will be pretty great. And basically with that, it's every month they have a bunch of different indie authors and they set up outside and they have booksellers, indie authors, anything kind of in the bookish realm. And the first one had like thousands of people, and authors were literally like they brought boxes of books and they were tearing open boxes and people were buying like 4 copies and they were just grabbing them out, and it was really crazy. So we have a lot of author support here that is not the norm for everyone. So I'm really trying to capitalize on those in-person events, and then kind of let my social media and online stuff catch up later because unfortunately I can't do it all with the full-time job. So I'm just trying to do what I can do now, see what works, see what doesn't, and then kind of adjust my marketing plan going forward.
Of course. I mean, it just kind of gave me a different perspective
Mhm.
because I don't live in an area where you could do a lot of that. I probably could contact some English bookstores because I live
Yep.
in a French speaking country, and I probably could do that and they might help, but it's not super known or anything like that here, even especially if you're self-published. Like
Mhm.
we have Waterstones here, but it's like they will probably not even look at my book if I
Yeah.
come and offer it to them. But in any case, like it's just for authors who are so nervous about making posts and like just having TikToks and not being viral, or just
Mhm.
having to post so many times a day and everything like that. Just important to remember to look around. Like just
Mhm.
look, there might be a library that will want your book, there might be different events, there might be, yeah, it's just like look for opportunities outside of social media. They might not be as glamorous as you would like them to be, but it's still, people are way more likely to buy books when they're like standing in front of you and
Yes.
looking at you and like you're telling them about your book. And it's not only because they feel they have to be nice, it's just because you get genuine interest from talking to people.
Mhm.
And also a good point that you raised is that, yeah, a lot of pressure goes on the before release, and then you get, and it's good, okay, like it's great, pre-orders are important, it will get your rank up on
Mhm.
Amazon, whatever, but then a lot of people forget to market after the release altogether, just like, oh,
Mhm.
release week, yay, and then nothing. So yeah,
Yep.
it's the book is evergreen, it will always be there, just like remember to
Exactly.
tell people about it and to let them find it at least.
Yeah, and you don't
Okay,
have to
so
put that much pressure on yourself.
yeah, exactly. No need to, like, you're, as a newbie author with only one book, your rank is not going to be that high anyway. It's
No,
probably going to tank,
exactly.
so
So
it's
what
fine.
if I have to re-release it because it bombed? You know what? That's okay. I didn't get time the first time. It bombed. Who cares? I'll just re-release it later, or you can always do a street team later. Like it's not as if this is your one shot. I mean, you hear about how many authors like they don't hit a beg to their 10th book, or 10 years later their book gets popular for whatever reason. So I try to, yeah, definitely think of that. And then even in person, also going in as a reader first helps instead of just going in as an author. Like, okay, I'm going to go in and ask Barnes and Noble. Like every time I've asked, I've been a reader first. Like I've
Mhm.
already been at the bookstore for an author signing and I asked for the manager's email and they were happy to give it to me. Or, I already had someone on my podcast, or I already attended the book club, or I already frequented that library. And so then it was a lot easier to ask in person too. So I think that kind of takes the pressure off of it, of just maybe find a couple bookish things that you like that are in your area and start going to them, and don't tell anyone that you're an author, and just go in as a reader, figure it out, and then maybe bring it up at some point, and people are more likely to help you out as well if you're trying to go the in-person route.
Yeah, yeah, that
Mhm.
I completely agree. And then if you're saying that you're going to be going to these events, so you're going to be bringing your books, or you're going to be having the store
Mhm.
order your books, so that means you're publishing wide, right? Like you're not like exclusive to Amazon, so you are using another tool like Ingram Spark or something like that
Mhm.
to publish your
Yes.
paperbacks at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking currently about
Yeah.
these kinds of options, and I have no idea what to do. But here, I don't think I will benefit from anything local, so I probably will just stick with Amazon. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, and again, taking your first book as this, like, this is my one and only. It will be either the greatest thing or the worst thing. Was also not a very good, and I'm guilty of that. So I not abandoned, but I postponed my big work in progress that I really really like, because I feel about that book as if, like, if this one flops, I'm gonna be super upset.
Mhm.
So like, okay, I'm gonna start with something smaller.
Yep.
Also, like, it's not like I don't care. I really love that one
Mhm.
story as well, but I don't feel like that one is gonna be my all or nothing.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, however you can make yourself like take the pressure off and just kind of think about it. And I keep hearing, of course, that until you really have a series done, it's not
Hmm.
gonna do as well. A lot of books do better when the series is complete, which makes total sense, whether that's in interconnected standalone romance series or, a cozy mystery series or a mystery series, you never know, or fantasy series. And the cool thing about cozy mystery is that it is a complete mystery in each book, so there's, like, underlying things with the characters that you're getting from book to book, but you can pick them up in any order and you will get a complete mystery from start to finish. So that's something that's a little bit different about those is they're also kind of interconnected standalones in their own way too.
Yeah, I've heard this advice as well many times. They even say like don't even bother doing any ads or promos
Yep.
anywhere before you have a series because doing an ad or promo on one book is not going to give you the
Hmm.
return on investment that you think it's going to be. So yeah,
True.
it's definitely a good advice. All
Yeah.
right, so since we are talking about different advice, is there any best and or worst writing advice that you've heard and that you want to share? You can say both or you can say one.
Best advice, my critique partner, I would get kind of mad at her sometimes when I didn't want to hear it. But it's so simple, but she would say like just write, just keep writing, just keep writing, writing, writing. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that right now. I don't feel like it's working. And she would be like, nope, nope, just keep writing because if you don't have a first draft, then you don't have anything you can go with from there. So I really take that to heart, even though that seems so simple. It really, really does help because sometimes you just have to take yourself out of your head. Stop thinking about the tropes and if it's working and if a reader's gonna like it, and just no, just literally write the book and then see what you have from there. And I really think just getting support from other authors has really been paramount for me, and hearing other opinions because I would overthink it and I have no idea what my story would have been like had I not had kind of constant feedback from friends, authors, readers, non-readers, and now I feel a little bit more confident having had so many eyes on the book. And as far as like kind of publishing-ish advice goes, I would definitely say that I am following MK Williams. She is amazing and she has some self-publishing books that have really helped me. And her biggest piece of advice was to not upload anything for pre orders until you have the complete and finished book in your hands, because that's how you
Oh,
can kind of get in trouble with Amazon. Like if you were uploading a draft and then it may not upload the right thing and then it may not print it. And then that's when Amazon tends to like cancel all the pre orders that you've had and all that kind of stuff. And you can run into a lot of problems. So I haven't uploaded my book to Amazon yet because it is not completely edited. So that is something that she has said over and over again, and I've seen a lot of other authors run into that where they've had to move their release back because Amazon kind of like messed with their pre-orders. So I am waiting until it is completely in its like final edited form to even upload it to get it ready for pre-orders or anything like that. So keeping that in mind, you might have to push your release date out a little bit further so you actually give yourself time. That's what I didn't incorporate was the time to fix the edits. I thought that I would be way quicker fixing things and that I would have that final copy sooner, but there are so many people that have to look at it and you want to give yourself kind of the creative freedom and time to step away from your story in between each edit, go back to it, really make sure everything's good before you upload it to completion in Amazon. And I think that's what I really didn't realize until talking with other authors and having a tight deadline for myself. I would not do that again. I would have extended it out a little bit further so I could really capitalize on pre-orders and arcs.
okay. So yeah, I actually haven't heard that because I know a lot of, not I know, but I've heard a lot of authors actually
Mhm.
upload like a dummy something and
Yep.
then they change it
Yep.
and they change it. But I guess it can go wrong like in many cases. So you should be
Mhm.
really careful.
Everyone, and you never know. I mean, worst case, all you have to do is push back your release. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that could be fine. But yeah, I've just heard of a lot of pre-orders getting completely canceled and them losing all of those and stuff like that. So based on that advice, I am waiting and I did not even upload a dummy.
So for this release, you've
Mhm.
decided to not do the ARC campaign at all, or you're gonna have some people?
Um, Probably not. I think it's gonna be a little bit too close. I may
Mhm.
decide and switch it later, but it's probably going to be too close.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
completely valid. I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to. You can do review copies later. You don't have to do
Exactly.
arcs exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been approached by many authors just asking me to review
Mhm.
their book and sending like you want me to send you the book. Like it's already released. It's not an arc or anything, but they just need a review. So that's also quite
Exactly.
valid.
And I mean, again, like arcs and pre-orders and everything, it's really, really nice. And of course you want to do it, but I am specifically publishing when I am with the purpose of being able to order everything to get it ready for Author Fest and Ink and Indie that I'm doing in person. So I'm
Hmm.
putting less emphasis on arcs and pre-orders. And if I end up, maybe everything will get done in time and I can do arcs and I'll put them up for a couple weeks and use that NetGalley co-op and get them on NetGalley and it'll be great. Or maybe I don't, and that's okay. And I learned that lesson. And then book two, I know how to do pre orders, how to do arcs, how much time to give myself, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
totally. So if you're planning to take all those books to the events, does that mean you
Mhm.
already kind of ordered some proofs or something like that? Or you don't even do that before you have the finished book in your hands?
Don't even do that before you have the finished
Mm,
book in your hands, is the way that I'm going about it. So, yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if
Which,
you want to be completely safe
mhm,
and secure in that, I can completely understand.
yep.
But I think something I forgot to ask you, it's mostly for me, but maybe
Mhm.
some listeners will also be interested, is where'd you get your cover? Because I am now in the process of like contacting cover designers and stuff. So like I'm always interested where the others get their covers.
Okay. So my cover actually came from 100 covers, and
Hmm.
it's a website that I wasn't really sure. Okay. So actually, this was the second person that I reached out to for a cover. Initially, I reached out to an artist and we couldn't come to an understanding of what the look should be.
Hmm.
And so I started asking my author friends for recommendations, as you do. And MK was also the one that suggested 100 covers. And whenever I saw, I think their normal is like $200 for a cover, which is insanely reasonable, and I
Hmm.
was not expecting that. So I was looking at it, and basically their biggest thing in 100 covers is that they want to help you meet those genre conventions. So that way they're really looking at all the other books in the genre and then kind of designing your cover around those.
Hmm.
And so they had like I think a sale, and I got my cover for $100,
Wow.
and
Okay.
that is a dust jacket, that is for a hardcover, that's a paperback, and that's an audio that could be an audiobook cover. Like you can literally just send them in later and say, "Hey, I need an audiobook cover," and they'll reformat it and just send it to you for that. And an ebook cover. So that covers like all platforms. And they even have like an Ingram Spark version, a KDP version. And so you literally just tell them what you want, you explain your book, you go through it, and we did I think like 2 or 3 iterations, and I absolutely love it, and they did a fantastic job, and they were really, really reasonable and really professional, and I know that it's gonna fit the genre conventions, and I'm going to use them moving forward. But I had a lot of artists on hand that I also wanted to use, but I found that author recommendations are great. Even if there's an author that you don't know that well, sending them, asking them who did their cover is a really good idea, just so that way they can recommend that person. Because I feel like every time I worked with someone who wasn't recommended by other authors, it was kind of like we were both trying to figure out what we wanted. It was a little bit more difficult. But when I used those author recommendations of them saying, like, this person was great, then I went through them. Like, I found an artist for my character art through recommendations, and they were fantastic. So do not forget to just ask authors. I mean, they'll tell you if you like their character art, they're happy to shout out that artist and kind of bring them your way. I mean, it's almost kind of like on our podcast stuff whenever we're getting recommended by other authors, do the same for cover artist and character artist, and then you can find some really great ones that you wouldn't have known about before, that that you like their style, because that's the most important thing, is to make sure that you're going to like their style, especially knowing if you want a little bit more illustration, that's a different skill set than necessarily just like graphic design. So if you want more detailed characters that aren't like stock images, that's when you're really going to have to talk with an artist to make sure that your style matches.
Yeah, that's practically what I did.
Yeah.
Basically, I went on Threads and I
Mhm,
wrote a post like, authors, can you recommend me your
mhm,
cover designers? Did I did make one mistake though. I don't know if it's my mistake or it's people
mhm.
didn't understand me. I said I needed a people cover. What I meant is I want a photo based cover
Yeah.
with people on it. What everybody else understood, or they just didn't read, is that I wanted illustrated characters.
Oh,
And so the authors that answered, they actually
mhm,
recommended me their cover designers, and they understood, and they're like, okay, this is who I used, and I like them, and I
mhm.
actually picked a cover designer from there. But I got so many like, oh, I'm a cover designer. I will draw your characters for you. Like, thank
Yeah.
you so much, but not this time. It was a little crazy. But yeah, I totally agree. You should just ask. I how I went about it from the very beginning is I just took a couple of books that I read in the
Mhm.
genre and I
Yep.
looked up the covers that I really loved. I looked inside the book. I tried to find who made them. Unfortunately for me, one of them did not have the cover designer mentioned. One of them had some company that I couldn't Google. And a
Mhm.
third one had her husband made it. So I was like, I'm not gonna ask her husband to make my cover, so
Mhm,
okay. But then, yeah, just asking
mhm.
people really helps. You just have to weed out through like a lot of people offering their services when they didn't even read
Sure.
what you asked. What
Or
just like,
don't know your
I'm gonna do it."
genre. That's a big thing. If they're not used to creating covers in your genre, then
Yeah, I
yeah.
also should have mentioned that it was a contemporary because I
Mhm.
didn't, and then I got a lot of people who draw characters for fantasy, which are amazing. I
Yeah.
really love their work,
Yeah.
but I cannot use them. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. And another trick that I learned is to, like, in your initial research, go on Amazon and check the bestsellers and look at what their
Mhm.
covers look like because then you can see what's selling. And I can't remember where I heard this, but for indie authors, their suggestion was to look at the best-selling ebooks because you're probably going to be on Amazon and a majority of your sales are going to be ebooks. So check the ebooks. But then if you're TradPub, take a look at the paperbacks so then you can kind of see like what covers you like, what colors you like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can totally tell it because when you look at
Mhm.
like the ebooks in a regular contemporary romance,
Mhm.
there would be couple covers, shirtless guy covers, and stuff
Yep.
like that. But I very rarely see shirtless guy covers in
Mhm.
anybody's hands on a bus. Like it's just
True.
doesn't happen much. So yeah,
Mhm.
you just need to know where to look.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think the last interview, I actually came up with a question that I now probably am going to ask everybody because I really like when people talk about their work and what they love about it. So it's going to be a recurrent segment. Just from this book that you've written, what is the part or what is the thing that you're the most proud of, or from the whole authoring experience that you had so far?
Man, so this book is very teacher centric. Both of the main characters are teachers. And that was really, really important to me because if you're not a teacher, you can obviously still read and enjoy the book. But I wrote this from the perspective of as a teacher, I got really, really burnt out. And whenever I was kind of in the midst of my final year and I was really, really burnt out, it seems like everyone was either saying, like, just suck it up and just keep teaching the kids or quit and go find something else. And no one really wanted to kind of empathize with you and that you love your job, but your job is also really hard. And so with this book, I really wanted to make the focus on a fun, cute, kind of fluffy, cozy mystery with some romance, but also reflecting teachers and their experience and some of the problems that we face that you just don't think about and don't think about on a daily basis. Like they have a conversation about how they're all tired of having to buy their own tissues for their classroom. So there are just little things like that that I didn't want to make it too heavy to where, you don't need one more thing added to your plate, but I wanted to kind of give teachers a book to enjoy that hopefully feels like it's written with them in mind. and really captures on some of those issues. And so it's the book that I wish I would have had whenever I was a burnt out, exhausted teacher. And my mailman character, he is fresh, new, a baby teacher, and she is his mentor. So she's a little bit more jaded. So they really balance each other out. And he brings out the joy in her for her to remember why she loved teaching. And then she kind of calms his crazy ideas down and explains everything. And there are a lot of like conversations with them at lunch, just talking about their woes and kind of making fun of everything and enjoying themselves. And so that's all of the things that I really wanted to bring to this book that for me make it really special. And I'm hoping that it will really kind of hit home with other teachers because there aren't a lot of teacher books that are focused in the school year and or written by former teachers. So I wanted to really kind of bring that aspect to the book. But if you were never a teacher, then it's just a fun little cozy mystery that takes place in a high school. But if you were, then hopefully you'll get that added layer too.
Oh, that's amazing. I love this question. Like the author is just like the eyes are lighting is like, wow, we're gonna talk about the parts that you're the most proud of. Because sometimes you like I ask a lot of like technical stuff. How did you do this? How
Yeah.
did you do that? And then you just kind of forget
Hmm.
why you did it and just to remember kind of the joy and what you're really proud of. Well, that's amazing. The book sounds amazing. I really
Thank
like
you.
the characters already. And yeah, I think you're right. There are not that many that are set in school, not between the school kids. And
Mhm.
yeah, Alice Ambert's, right? I haven't read, but I know
Yes.
that she's a teacher.
Yes.
So, and one of my favorite authors, actually, Kristen Bailey, she writes rom-coms and well, the series that I'm continuously reading is also set in high school and it's all between
Mhm.
teachers as well, so that one is also very funny. It's not appropriate for kids, but it's not really cozy, but it's super funny. And it's also
Uh,
there's a lot of talk about like the kids and the aspects of the job, but more in a comedic kind of way, like
yeah.
yeah, we're all tired and burned out, but this is funny.
I love
Yeah.
that.
All right. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me about your book. Really, it was really a nice conversation. I knew that I will learn a lot from you, and that was exactly the case. Let's just remind the listeners where they can find you, where they can find your book once
Mhm.
it's out, and like all the handles.
Sure. I post a lot as if it were my personal Instagram on at where I left off pod. And then you can find my podcast on Spotify or really anywhere you listen, Apple Music, Amazon. And then as far as my books, my author Instagram is at Kristen Bahls Writes, and I will be posting all updates on there. I'm working on the author website, working on those pre-order links. Everything will definitely be posted and um, posted all across my Instagram whenever I get to that point.
Okay, and yeah, so
Mhm.
far, anyone who's interested can go on at Kristen Bowles, right? And I've seen there's a very
Mhm.
cute character art in there,
Yep.
and you can check out the characters and maybe the blurb. I'm not sure. So yeah, thank you again. It was really nice talking to you. I wish you the best with the release. I'm gonna be super curious how all those like in person events went and how that worked out for you. So maybe we'll do
Mhm.
an update at some point.
Sounds great. I know. I'm
Okay.
curious to see how it goes too.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day and, well, hopefully talk to you later.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
If you like what you hear so far, please consider subscribing and tune in for the next episode. If you have burning questions about writing you'd like to have answered, head to my Instagram page at kkalbabooks and leave me a message. Or use my email k.k.alba.books@gmail.com. If you'd like your favorite author to answer your question on my show, again, head to my Instagram or email me to let me know which author you'd like me to invite, and I'll try to get over my anxiety and do it. On the other hand, if you're an author who's published at least one book, traditional or indie, and you'd like to become a guest, well, you know what to do by now. Message me and let's get to know each other.